It's almost white with the light of the universe, with the uncountable number of stars, but it has a lot of variation to it. Even just with the naked eye.
I don't recall during the period of time that we were photographing the solar Fraude what stars we could see. I don't remember seeing any.
The sky is almost white with the light of the universe, with the uncountable number of stars.
I don't recall during the period of time that we were photographing the solar Fraude what stars we could see. I don't remember seeing any.
Uncountable number of stars.
I don't remember seeing any.
Water is also very dangerous on the space station because we have a lot of electricity, so we need to be very careful not to spill it.
Because I know you have kids at home. How do you stay close to your kids?
Also very dangerous on the space station because we have a lot of electricity. So water is also very dangerous on the space station because we have a lot of electricity, so we need to be very careful.
And so when you open up your hockey puck and turn it into a washcloth, it was compressed in a great big vise somewhere. Okay, so here's my washcloth, like a magic trick. And now I'm going to get this soaking wet, and then we're going to see what'll happen when we wring it out. Meredith and Kendra suggested that I dip this in a bag, but bags don't hold water in space, so instead I filled a water bag. This has drinking water in it. And I'm going to squirt a bunch of water into this washcloth.
So water is also very dangerous on the space station because we have a lot of electricity, so we need to be very careful not to spill it. So water is also very dangerous on the space station because we have a lot of electricity, so we need to be very careful.
Okay, so here's a soaking wet washcloth. Get the microphone so you can hear me while I'm talking. And now let's start wringing it out. It's really wet.
So water is also very dangerous on the space station because we have a lot of electricity, so we need to be very careful not to spill it.
It's becoming a tube of water. The water's all over my hands. In fact, it wrings out of the cloth into my hands. And if I let go of the cloth carefully,
So water is also very dangerous on the space station because we have a lot of electricity, so we need to be very careful not to spill it.
Pac-Man. Uh-oh. Asparagus explosion. Piece of asparagus, we'll leave it upside down. And so, you know, you're dizzy, your lunch is floating around in your belly because you're floating, and what you see doesn't match what you feel, so you want to throw up. So how do you throw up if you get sick in space? Ooh, the sun's starting to come up. So here's an astronaut barf bag right here. So let's say you're about to throw up in space. Quick, you get your barf bag open, and now think about what happens on Earth when you throw up. Now that'll be okay. You throw up and you have a bag of something horrible, and then you throw it away. But in space, if I throw up in this bag, what am I going to do with it? This bag has to stay with me in space for months. So we want a really good barf bag. So we have one that will really protect us. And this one has a liner in it, so that when you throw up into it, you can clean your face off. You can clean your face off. And then you can push everything inside. So yes, astronauts do occasionally get sick in space, but we have special barf bags to deal with it. I'm just going to... And then you can push everything inside, and then it comes with its own Ziploc to put inside the Ziploc, and then you can throw it down into the wet trash. So yes, astronauts do occasionally get sick in space, but we have special barf bags to deal with it. I'm just going to close the shutter because it gets a little bright behind me.
like to be in space. Well, it's a lot like being in the pool here.
We'll continue to do what it takes.
Olvídalo, Bart. Hay tanta luz afuera que no puedes ver nada en el cielo excepto el satélite de Fox.
Some of NASA's latest space dreams came crashing down in Central Australia today. A giant helium balloon packed with expensive scientific instruments lost its moorings in high wind.
Señor, el público para el lanzamiento es el más alto en 10 años.
¿Y cómo va la nave espacial?
No sé. ¿Todo el equipo es para medir el público televisivo?
¡Ay, qué hermoso! Es el espectáculo más impresionante que haya visto. Creadora de vida. ¡Madre de todo! ¡Miren lo que me tiene contrabando!
¡No, Homero! ¡Se atascarán los instrumentos! ¡Cuidado, tiene picante!
Las primeras imágenes de la nave espacial que lleva al común y corriente Homero Simpson y que... Señoras y señores, parece que perdimos la imagen, pero lo que hemos visto habla por sí mismo. La nave espacial Corber al parecer fue invadida o conquistada, por decirlo así, por una raza superior de criaturas como hormigas. Es difícil saber a estas alturas si van a devorar a los astronautas o solo a hacerlos esclavos. Lo que sí es seguro es que nada los detendrá y estarán aquí. Yo por lo pronto les doy la bienvenida, extraterrestres, y les recuerdo que como personaje conocido de la televisión, puedo serles útil en conseguir a otros humanos para llevar a cabo las tareas que ustedes digan.
No se preocupen, niños. Seguro que su papá está bien.
you put it on your hand. And now I've got water floating around on my hand. And so I wash my hands up with that. And then grab a towel. And dry them off. So that's how we do it. We use no rinse. It's a special type of tension of the water. It actually runs along the surface of the cloth and then up into my hand, almost like you had Jello on your hands or gel on your hand, and it'll just stay there. Wonderful moisturizer on my hands. And the cloth doesn't really unravel itself. It just stays there floating like a dog's chew toy.
Welcome to the Next News Network. I'm Gary Franchi. Joining me now for the special web edition is World Bank whistleblower Karen Hudes. She's one of many of a coalition of whistleblowers who are making waves across the planet. She's joining me now in studio. Karen, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me on, Gary.
Karen, just before we went to air, we were discussing the global corruption, the global syndicate, the bankers. Who are these people? Who are the individuals? Who are the puppet masters pulling the strings of the bankers?
Well,
because you had mentioned the Jesuits in a previous interview, so I'm intrigued as to know where's the connection to the Jesuit order, as well as through the Vatican and beyond. There's many secret societies in the world. Many people speak of the Illuminati and the Masonic orders, the Order of the Garter, many of these super elite organizations that operate in secrecy. So I know I've named a few already, but if you could help us elaborate on these points, who are the people pulling the strings?
Well, do you remember when there were ghettos and you had something called a Judenrat that were the ones that would draw up the lists of the Jews that were going to get exported the next day? Do you remember how that system worked?
Well, it was a little before my time, but history would dictate what happened in those ghettos. So elaborate.
These were traitors to their people who were helping because they thought they were going to save themselves. That's maybe why they did that, but it doesn't matter what their motives were. They were doing the work against their people. Now, think of this as an elaboration on a larger scale, and what we're dealing with actually is humanity and the elite, the secret societies, the Vatican. They're traitors to humanity, because the one at the very core that's pulling the strings is a different species. They're not the human race. They're called Homo capensis. They have been on Earth together with humanity for before this ice age. And the reason I know about this is because I was trying to help out a movie producer who couldn't get his movie. It was called The Banksters Made Off with America, Edmund Drille. And he introduced me to his network of whistleblowers. One of the people in that network is a neurologist who went to Yale Medical School and was retired, and he was trying to find out what was at the very core of all of this corruption. And
so you mentioned this species, an additional species of humans, or
no, they're not humans. They are so distinct from humans that if they were to mate with humans, their offspring would not be fertile.
Now, are you speaking of the biblical Nephilim is an entity that people have discussed and tried to understand for millennia, and that is the race of offspring of humans and the fallen angels from.
No, these are not angels. These are not spiritual.
Well, the Nephilim themselves were the offspring of the fallen angels and humanity. Is this the same species?
They are not fallen angels. Mm-hmm. They are critters. People who I am getting emails from saw them the day before. They look just like human beings, except they have these big skulls. And that is why in the Vatican you see these crazy meters, is what they're called. And that's why the very first Jew, Moses, wore one of those things, because he was one of those Homo capensis as well. We have DNA samples of them. And the reason we know this is because it was in the papyri of one of the pyramids. I found this out from from the internet. But what is really remarkable, actually, is that we have had so much evidence, and we haven't had any studies into it. If you look at the archaeology, there is a civilization off the coast, because the sea level has risen by 400 meters. But what do we know about this ancient pre-Ice Age civilization? We do have a map that's left over from there, because it shows the coastline of Antarctica before the ice froze on it. And it's following that landmass perfectly. So what we have is we have evidence. There's also evidence in South Africa. There are a lot of these skulls that you find. And what
You're speaking of the elongated skulls that have been found in graves, and even some of the skeletons found with these are in fact giant people.
That is something different. No, I'm not talking about that. I am talking about a large skull.
The elongated skull, the elongated cranium.
Some are in Peru, some are elongated. But in other places, they're just round like pumpkins. And the individuals that were seen in Egypt, I've seen drawings of what their skulls looked like. It was just massive, much larger than human being skulls. And also, you know, in a human skull, there's something they call the parietal, where it's in 3 different segments. This critter doesn't have those separations. It's just
so you're saying that this specific species of individuals is occupying the Vatican and functioning through the Jesuit order?
Yes, but they're also working in the banks in Portugal, because one of the people who saw this, you know, in Saturday Night Live, there was a broadcast of something called the Coneheads. Mm. So that's a slang word for them, although my mother refers to them as the boneheads. But they're alive and running around and doing all kinds of mischief.
Now, some people might find the information that you're presenting right now to be completely... Some people might say it's completely crazy. What do you say to those people who are watching this right now going, I don't believe a word of it?
I would say you need to read the articles that Ed Spencer has sent me. You need to look at the skulls in the museums. You need to read the DNA studies. And you need also to think about what kind of motive the human beings might have for being traitors to their species. Why would they do this? Why would we have a banking system where all the money ends up going to the Vatican and people run around starving? Why would we have... for example, if you look at what the actual teachings of Jesus Christ were, as opposed to when you had translations and various things happened and got put in there, and as some of the whistleblowers have been discussing this, information, articles on Homo capensis have disappeared from the internet. They've been taken down. And other critics who... I don't know why they're getting all the coverage they are, and they've been getting features in Wikipedia. Let me talk a little bit about Wikipedia.
Sure,
okay?
Sure.
I had an experience with Wikipedia because I got involved in trying to edit the biography on Robert Zoellick, who was the World Bank president. Mm-hmm. And I was trying to explain to people that the United States had lost the gentleman's agreement, which you could demonstrate. You could see. I couldn't get that into Wikipedia. They were clearly being controlled by this group that that is controlling all the capital markets.
So do you think that these same people were preventing your Wikipedia edits?
Yes, and what I'm trying to say is that this person who was attacking the information on Homo capensis had a big, long article featuring her on Wikipedia. So I know who Wikipedia is. I know whose interests Wikipedia serves. And when somebody who's just starting out gets a big write-up, I know what that really means.
This atlas was from my childhood. Okay, I'm 36 years old. This atlas copyright date is 1984. So this is from my parents ordered an Encyclopedia Britannica, a whole set, because we didn't have internet back then whenever I started school. And this was there. I don't know what made me decide to open it. And so I opened this book, and it's very detailed, very on point to point, all right? So it tells you about the biosphere, it tells you all these very detailed things about the life cycle. Now right here says world number 1, and it is the azimuthal, I do not know how to pronounce that correctly, and azimuthal equidistant projection map. Azimuthal equidistant projection map. Anyway, the point of this map is that the center is the north and the outer ring is the south. Now when you have a magnet, if it's a donut-shaped magnet, a ring, the inner will be north and south. That's how the poles will be. Keep that in consideration, okay? Now, this little gem here is the only conversation in the whole book, okay? First page of World 1, before it goes into all those strange maps where it moves the lines, the sides, I'll show you. Okay, see this map right here? Look at how they have those lines curved. That doesn't, you can't see, it's not picking it up. At the bottom here, the lines that go around the earth do not match up properly. They all swiggle. Now here, these match up perfectly with the time. Each section is an hour. So the sun goes around 1 hour. Okay? Now this is the only paragraph here. And it says, now man must begin to grapple with causes that have more than one effect. It is time for man to meditate on his heritage and to act, remembering that knowledge is a fountain of life to him who possesses it. So, that's this. Alright? Now my friend who's a Freemason, we went to dinner at his lodge and he knows that I am aware. This was several years ago. This was before he was the worshipful master the first time, a couple years ago. In the temple upstairs, there's no windows and there's chairs all the way around and there's 3 thrones as far as I can remember. And the floor is black and white checkerboard, flat checkerboard. Okay, black and white, light and dark, all right? And the north was in the center. He said, notice, he said to me this, and only this, as he ever said. He said, notice how we have it set up in the directions. And there's a throne on every side of the directions except for north. He said, there is no north. And he never said another thing about it.
Give it a try. Space tortilla. Lasts 18 months in this package. Got my bean paste. Okay, nice and warm.